In this section of the course, we're going to talk about implicit relationship types, which is a really neat idea of using certain special injected types instead of just the ordinary type in order to affect the behavior of the components that you're injecting. So here's what we're going to see in this entire section. First of all, of course, we're going to cover all of the implicit relationship types, and I know it might be a bit bewildering and some of them have really bizarre names and so on, but we're going to go through every single one of them. There's going to be a lesson for each one of them, and we'll see both. I'll have a slide for each of these, and I'll also have actual examples and code so you can see how the whole thing behaves. Now, in addition, we'll talk about some other things. We'll talk about the fact that these are generally composable. We'll also take a look at the fact that some of these types are kind of dependent on artifact, and this might not be the great thing, but the bulk of this section of the course is all about looking at the different implicit relationship types. Now, before we jump onto those, I wanted to give you an explanation of what exactly an implicit relationship type is, because until now, in the entire course, we've only looked at the relationship between, let's say, the car and the engine, where one component needs another at construction time, and we use the constructor as a way of kind of stuffing all the dependency chains so that everything is fully initialized and completely ready to be used. But this is the only way. This is what's called a direct dependency. So in this case, for example, the car has a direct dependency on the engine, which means as the car's constructor gets invoked, its constructor argument is a newly created engine, which is okay. They're made at the same time, so to speak. But this isn't the only way in which you can go, because certainly you can write car, which takes an engine. This is the assignment that happens, but there are different other relationships in addition to this direct dependency that will depend on the type of argument that's being injected. So instead of injecting just the engine, you might be injecting a lazy engine or an owner engine or a func of engine, and those things all assign additional behaviors to the way that the very injection mechanism actually works. And certainly some of these types come from .NET, but unfortunately some of these types come from Artifact. Now, why do I say unfortunately? Well, because you have to ask yourself the question, how tightly do you want your architecture to be coupled to a particular dependency injection container, as opposed to being able to kind of freely switch containers? The more you couple yourself to Artifact, the harder it will be to uncouple if for some reason you decide either that you need some other DI container or that you want to build your own container. So this is a concern that's going to be discussed throughout this entire section because, well, it's reasonably important. Okay, so with that in mind, let's jump into the different relationship types and look at how to implement them.